Welcome to another edition of the In Search SEO podcast, where we paint the town red with search marketing insights. We are back with a vengeance, as today we have the wonderful, the delightful, the musical Jason Barnard here to talk with you all about rich results and structured data markup, why the block construct is so important to Google and what it means for your rich results, the changing relationship between rich results and traffic to your sites, and thinking about structured data beyond clicks. Plus, we take a look at what you could do after being hit by a core update. I am your host, Morty Oberstein, and I am joined by the always chic, the never pedestrian, Sapir Carabello.
Ever pedestrian? You gotta come up with a better, description, Morty.
Yeah.
I think our little break made you rusty.
Okay. I thought that was hip.
I'm like disappointed.
I thought that was really?
I was super excited.
You know what? Fine, we're going back on break. We're done.
Okay.
I give up. I'm back 3 seconds, and you're already criticizing me.
You're
3
too
seconds,
rusty.
we're back. Rusty. I thought that was great. No? All right,
No.
fine. You know what? I don't care.
Wow, I feel
That's
appreciated.
right. You should.
Okay.
'Cause I care more about other things that have more to do with the podcast than me hyping you up. Like, please.
Yeah, you need to.
You don't have a Twitter account.
I do.
You
but
do not.
I do.
You
I actually,
do?
I do.
You're high. Because,
But it's a.
wait. Where is it?
I'm not
Because
telling you.
people mention you on Twitter all
I
the
know.
time.
Actually,
and,
I saw. And just for the record, I
Mhm.
love Goonies. Okay, just for the record.
Okay, Andrew.
Sloth?
She loves Goonies.
Yes, Andrew. Sloth is my ultimate.
But I'm sitting here like
Man.
reporting back every time someone mentions you as part of the podcast. Like, oh, hey, Sapir, look, someone likes you. Is that amazing?
Oh, yeah.
And you had a Twitter account this whole time.
It's like it's not a real Twitter account. It's just I use it for to
This
be a stalker.
This is pathetic.
I know.
Okay, well, a lot of banter, getting back into it. Let's move on. Do not forget, we again put out an episode of the In Search SEO podcast each and every Tuesday. You can find it on the Rank Ranger blog. You can find it on Stitcher. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on SoundCloud. And of course, you may subscribe on iTunes. Okay, also, while we were gone, we, as in Rank Ranger, we have released the Serpulator.
Ooh.
Best name ever.
All right.
Guess who thought of that name? Huh? Right here. The Serpulator. The Serpulator, by the way, is a free tool. You can find it on the Rank Ranger homepage, by the way, under Resources. And it lets you preview your metadata on the SERP. So if you're writing a title, you can see, am I going to get truncated? If you're writing a description, am I going to get truncated? And it's up to date with real day, average every day. There we go. I got it out. The average everyday description and title length on the SERP. So it's constantly changing, and we give you the average, and the Serpulator will tell you if you're truncated based on that day's average. Also, you can use it to fetch any title and description from any URL. And you can see it right there. Super cool. Free tool. Preview your SERP results with the Serpulator. I've been waiting weeks to do that.
That's a great name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The Serpulator. Okay, so before we get going, we're back, but with a slightly different format, less to do with, hey, we took a month off, we've rethought this podcast thing. Although we did update the banners. I didn't show you yet even.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we took your one you liked and we
I'm
used it.
excited now.
I know. I'm saving it as a surprise. When the episode goes live, you'll see it.
Okay.
But we are doing a format change because I'm on my way to LavaCon. Or by the time this gets released, I'm already on the plane back from LavaCon in Oregon. Or as people from Oregon say, Oregon. We have someone here from that state. I'm like, oh, I'm going to Oregon. I was like, what the heck is Oregon? It's Oregon. I'm like, all right, dude, chill out. Oregon. So, because of that, I won't have time to do the podcast. I didn't want to push off another week, so we're doing it. Here it is. Here's the episode, but with a little bit of a different format because we're recording slightly in advance, like a week or so in advance. So we can't do the news. Sorry, Sapir, because that would be pointless.
I'm absolutely devastated.
Are you really? You seem very happy to do the news.
Really?
In fact, you told me, yes, I don't have to do the news this week. Can we do this every week?
Why are you exposing me like this?
You exposed yourself, and
my
this
heart
is getting weirdly
broken,
sexual right now.
I'm
What a weird twist of fate.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not doing the news because what's the point in giving you news that's already like 2 weeks old?
Right.
Right? So we're not going to do that. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we'll do news in the future.
Aw.
Yeah, just in case you were worried.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know we haven't done this in a while. Okay, I needed a break, to be honest with you. So in case you didn't know, Morty Oberstein is Jewish. You thought I was Irish? Oberstein. Okay, and there's a lot of Jewish holidays.
That? Someone actually thought you were Irish?
No, it's a joke.
It's not funny. See, a joke needs to be funny.
Because it's Oberstein, like
I don't know.
O'Donnell.
No, I don't
Forget
know.
it.
Okay.
So okay. There was a lot of Jewish holidays, so I had to take off anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you follow SE Roundtable, you saw Barry Schwartz, same thing. I'm on break. Everything is automated. I'm not answering comments. Signing Barry Schwartz. So it was that, and I needed a freaking break, to be honest with you. I was burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
I took off I didn't read SEO news for like a day.
For like a day. Oh wow.
I barely looked at Twitter for like a week.
Really?
Yeah, I needed a break from Twitter. Twitter's a lot of work for me sometimes. Not that I don't love all of you out there who follow me, who I interact with. Just I needed a break.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm. But, well, caveat, I didn't take a complete break because there's no way to be totally disconnected. Like, I don't think that's even possible, but okay. And one of the things that I saw when I was disconnected or slightly disconnected made me think it'd be a great topic to go down the SEO wormhole with you. Okay. So, I didn't totally disconnect, blah, blah, blah. And during my limited Twitter time, one of the things that caught my attention, even though I was on break, was a statement from Gary Ilyish. I think I pronounced that right, actually, Gary Ilyish, over at Google, who said that bad links to your site are not what's behind being impacted by the core algorithm updates. In fact, I personally don't think that links in general are what's behind the core updates. I think the core updates are, in fact, the antithesis of links, so to speak. Mm-hmm. 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 You're like, yeah, what's that about? Elaborate? Okay. Yeah. I think the core updates are all about Google trying to go beyond links and look at content or sites or pages more intrinsically, more qualitatively, because as I just mentioned, or I don't know if I just mentioned, I can't remember what I just said, but as I have mentioned many times, links are an indirect signal. It's like judging a meal based upon how it looks, right? It looks great, but in theory, it could taste like an ape's anus.
That's a disgusting example, but I'm oddly impressed.
You're oddly impressed by my metaphor?
Yes.
Right. Or my simile, rather, to be more precise.
I don't know. It's like, it's disgusting.
At
the same time,
you get my point.
It's a good example.
It's a good example, right? Come on, you've had that, right? It looks amazing. It even smells good, and you taste it like, oh my God, what the hell went wrong? Anyway, okay. Boy. I know where, this podcast thing is fun now that we're back after it. Anyway, it's not what I wanted to talk to you about exactly, okay? Because as much as we could talk about links and the future of links and core updates or whatever, what got me was, or what I want to talk to you about was, rather, so based upon this, I tweeted out something like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What Google's saying here makes sense. It's not about links or bad links. And I got into a conversation with Dr. Pete Ramaz about this, and we were both getting a little bit perturbed, frustrated, slightly annoyed, righteous anger about the fact that when Google talks about the core updates, they say, there's nothing you can do here. Just write some good content. Everything will be great for you and your site. Let me push my glasses back up my nose here. It's like, I was just like, who's ridiculous? Like, who, seriously? Like, that's your advice? Okay? Like, that's it? That's all you get? There's no ray of hope in this. Just write good content. And if your content's good and you still don't rank, well, tough noogies for you. There's nothing you can do about that. It just doesn't make any sense. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, why? Ask me why it makes no sense.
Why it makes no sense.
You forgot a word in there. Why does it, right?
I don't know. I'm just following what you say.
What? Let's try that again. Ask me why it makes no sense.
Why doesn't it make sense?
Because if you think about this, if you look back on SEO, let's say over the last, I don't know, year or so, okay? And you think about what's driven the conversation, there is nothing as rich and robust. It sounds like a bag of coffee. It's rich and robust. There's nothing as rich and robust when it comes to driving the SEO conversation as Google's core updates. Okay, think about it. Let's just run through it, okay? What's driven the renewed focus on EAT? The core updates. And what's driven the conversation about the quality rater guidelines vis-a-vis the algorithm? The core updates. And what's driving the conversation about the importance of authority? The core updates. And what's introduced the notion of Google being able to take a more qualitative look at content and profile your site? The core updates. Yet, we're supposed to believe there's nothing to learn from the core update. It's like, nothing to see here. Move along. Move along.
Yeah, I
To
get,
quote Star
I get
Wars.
what you mean. They should give people more credit than that.
Right. Come on. Like, this is like a little bit silly, right?
Right.
I agree. Okay, so I'm going to try to put some like teeth on this. Okay, I'm going to give you a case on the last core update, the September core update. So I did a piece analyzing the update before my hiatus, and one of the things I saw was an interesting little pattern with financial sites that lost ranking as a result of the update. Yep. Okay, so there seemed to be a lot of loan sites. When I was looking through the data, I'm like, oh, that's peculiar. There are a bunch of loan sites in the mix here. So let me look at those loan sites. Now, again, what I'm going to say here, my little caveat before I talk about Google's updates, what I'm going to say here is one little piece of data, one little sliver of the overall algorithm pie. I'm not defining the algorithm. I'm not saying the algorithm was about this entirely. I'm just pointing out a little tidbit of information that he pulled out, okay?
Right.
So I look at these loan sites. I'm like, okay, let's see if I can find a pattern with these loan sites. Because it's, again, odd. Not so odd there's financial sites, but so many loan sites I thought was a little bit peculiar.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So one of the things I saw when I looked at all these financial loan sites, rather, was that there seemed to be a lot of pages offering a lot of content. Meaning the content was not thin. It was really long, really prolific, substantial looking content. Okay, you would not consider this thin content, yet it got hit by the update. I'm like, okay, so it's not about thin content, which I didn't think it would be, but it's just so interesting that, this looks like really good content. I'm not sure why Google didn't like this site. There weren't so many ads, there weren't so many CTAs. I'm like, I don't really see anything here, and I was going to give up. But I didn't. I persevered. And I said, I realized the problem here. Because what I did was I looked at the sites that were not impacted.
Okay.
And I actually started reading every single line. That was really annoying.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And what I found is that the really good sites, the sites that didn't get hit, whenever they talked about a loan per se, like they always imagine all different sorts of loan types, small business loans and whatever loans and this kind of loan and that kind of loan. I have no idea, okay, about these things. So let's take small business loans. That's the one I looked at in particular. So when the good sites wrote about it, when they talked about the loan itself, not overall, of course there's going to be marketing content and all sorts of CTAs or whatever on the page, but when they talked about the loan itself, all you got was hardcore information. Okay, you didn't get any marketing talk, any marketing lingo. You didn't get any backhanded hey, you really should get this loan from us. It was simply hardcore, straight up, no frills information.
Right.
Really good information. The other sites, even though there was a lot of good information on them, okay, and there was a lot of long content, prolific content, substantial content, every once in a while, they would write something marketing-like within the details about the loan. Like why this is a really good idea for you to get this loan. Or another thing I saw was that sites tended to focus on not what the loan was about, but how you can go about getting the loan through them.
Oh.
So also, the good information, solid information, but not about the loan itself. It was information it's already steering you a certain way, right? And it was really, really interesting because what it looked like to me was that Google was almost as if able to pick up on tone. As if to say, we saw you put in some marketing information, some marketing tone, some marketing words in here. The tone of this content, if you want to call it that, is not purely informational. There's a little bit of marketing tinge in it, and that's not what should be here. for these kind of sites, for these kind of users, they deserve to see straight up information so they can make the best decision. They shouldn't have any emotional coercion through your marketing talk overwhelming them in any way, shape, or form. Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So really crazy stuff. Right? I mean, it's a type of analysis that I think Google's trying to do forever. And I think now they're able to actually do it. I mean, I remember one line was like, here's what this loan is, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And this is a great idea for you to do if you're doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm like, bingo. Like Google was able to pick up on that switch from information talk to marketing talk. I think Google's been looking to do that forever, obviously, and I think it's here. That's like a whole new level of nuance when profiling, when looking at content. Again, it's almost as if Google was able to pick up on the tone of content. And if Google did not trust your loan content, well, you know what happened.
I'm sure you're gonna tell me soon enough.
Well, you got slammed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not slammed. You lost rankings, okay? Now, not to toot my own horn. I'm actually saying this in all for practical purposes.
Mm-hmm.
After I wrote this, a few people wrote to me and said, wow, that was really helpful.
Oh.
Yeah, that should really. By the way, like all joking aside, my podcast persona aside, it's always nice to hear that.
Yeah.
Because first off, what I did was like it was the theory, right? It was like, okay, this is my analysis. I could be totally off. I could not be totally off. I don't think I was off. I had a good enough reason to think that I wasn't off, obviously. And you never know. So it's always nice to hear when someone says that really helped me.
Right.
It's very fulfilling.
Good job, Morty.
Fulfilling. Very fulfilling.
Fulfilling.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It does make it all worth it in reality. It is at the end of the day, this podcast persona aside, when I'm so happy, yay, charismatic, it really is about just...
Charismatic?
Yeah.
Where?
Hey.
Okay.
It really is about trying to help people.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I'm like, hey, this actually helped people. This is great. But that's so weird because how could it help people if Google's telling you there's nothing to do here, nothing to learn here? So basically everything I just said, just throw it out the window because Google said there's nothing to learn from the core updates. There's nothing to see here. Move along. And it's just so bizarre because with each and every update, not every update, but many of these updates, I'm walking away with insights that I never would have thought before about how Google approaches a site. And I've looked at unconfirmed updates, and I've been analyzing this stuff for years already at this point. I'm telling you from my personal experience, the core updates are just like rich beyond rich. It's like a gold mine of information. So that's why it's so bizarre to me that Google's saying, nothing to see here, move along, just write good content. If you're not relevant, well, you're not relevant, tough noogies for you. And it's got to be so upsetting to people.
Right.
Because there is something you can do. There is nuance. There is things Google's changing. And it is possible to get a little bit of a glimpse of what's going on.
Right.
So, long story short, I think it's time for a revised approach to the core updates and how you go about talking about them, my dear Google.
I actually agree with you for a change.
Wow.
So unfortunately, I can't make any snarky remarks this time.
Yes.
So shall
Success.
we move on?
Success. No, I'm going to gloat in that for a minute.
No.
So basically what you're saying is that was so amazingly awesome that you have no qualms about it.
Right.
And that there's no critique.
Right.
There's nothing bad you can say about me.
Unfortunately,
I have a
time, no.
giant ego. I am completely oversensitive, obviously. It just should be clear.
Oh, really? Oh,
Like some people I know.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Not talking about you. Okay. So from what's beyond your control, not, to what is very much within your control, your appearance on the SERP as a rich result. So here's Jason Barnard on structured data and your appearance on the Google SERP. Cut one. Welcome to another In Search SEO podcast interview session. Ooh, do I have a delicious treat for you today. He is a top-notch SEO consultant, an industry author and speaker, and he has the best pipes in the entire industry. And fittingly, he is the host of the SEO is AEO podcast. He is Jason Barnard. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I like the best pipes. It makes me sound Scottish, but I'm not.
So I don't want to insult you then. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, no. Being Scottish would be great.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
actually English. Being Scottish right now would be kind of probably better.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that.
I love singing, and doing the SEO with AEO podcast and singing that introduction is so much fun.
So, fun fact about you, I was investigating before I have you on the show, and you have an IMDb page, don't you?
Oh, I do, yeah. That's because I was a blue dog 10 years ago. In fact, from 1998 to 2008, I did a voiceover for a blue dog. In fact, I did 5 characters.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, I did the blue dog. I was my own mother, my own father, my wife's grandfather, my wife's father, and my daughter was my sister. It's really, really weird, isn't it? But
That's amazing, though.
yeah, well, we were doing a cartoon and we had just 2 characters, me and my wife.
Right.
We did it for 4 years. And then we realized that we couldn't keep the series going if we didn't have more characters.
Right.
So we invented the character. But we were living in Mauritius, which is a tiny island just off Madagascar.
Wow.
And I advertised for voice talent, and there wasn't any.
Okay.
And we were doing it in French and English. So not only did I need voice talent, but I needed bilingual voice talent. So we ended up saying, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to do it ourselves. So I started doing all these other voices. And my daughter, we roped her in to be the blue dog's little sister. And it was a really good laugh, but a bit weird.
But I haven't found the cartoon yet. I'm tempted to really dig in there and find it. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, there's a few things on YouTube. There's a song called Tiny Little Tickly Ants, and that goes, tiny tickly ants, walk on me, walk on me, walk on me. Tiny little ants, they make me laugh, ha 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 ha.
Like I said, best pipes in the industry.
For kids' songs, yeah, brilliant.
Okay,
so anyway, yeah.
We're going to talk about rich results. From voicing your own cartoons to rich results. Just to get us all on the same sort of page, when we say rich result, what in the heck are we talking about? What is that?
Well, I've been saying rich snippets. Sorry, not rich snippets. Excuse me. I've been saying rich elements.
Okay.
Because for me, they're just elements within the page. And for me, it's a little bit confusing when one says rich results. All results in Google are now rich in the sense that all the SERPs are rich.
Right.
But technically, yes, they are individual results. We will be talking about individual rich results. The idea of a rich element for me is the position 0, the knowledge graph, Google My Business, maps, images, videos, carousels. People also ask the FAQs that have completely gone nuts.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable.
But all of this stuff is coming out and is making Google's results richer and richer. So whether you call them rich results in their globality or individually or rich elements, I think rich elements is nice because it will tie into something we'll be talking about later on, which is blocks.
Right.
That idea of an element is very important. I've been talking to lots of people about that, and we'll come to that later.
Okay. So I'm probably going to steal a rich element because I like that much better than a rich result. So I'll source you on that. I'll make sure to give you a shout out. Yeah, because I like that's good.
Well, I've been on my own up until now, so I've got some support, which is great.
Okay, great. I wonder if we can talk about it for a quick moment, just again to build up the understanding for the general wider audience out there. The rich element has become sort of one of the talking points of SEO, a cornerstone of SEO, if you want to call it that now. How has that happened? How have we gotten to the rise of the rich element?
Well, how has it risen is because users want this multimedia content, and initially they were going to the Google results, seeing those 10 blue links and clicking through.
Yep.
And what Google's been doing is moving it onto the SERPs, which is logical for Google. A lot of people are complaining about it, which is completely understandable. But if Google's aim is to get the user to the answer to their question or the solution to their problem as quickly and efficiently as possible, it's clear that it's got to be on their results for them.
Yeah.
After that, you have a whole question about, will people continue to create content to feed Google that's just going to put it on their SERPs? And that's the whole question that we can dive into later on.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely will.
If you're looking at, I keep saying empathy for Google, and Gennaro Cuofano from WordLift was saying, you don't have empathy for a behemoth of a company like that. But empathy, not in the sense of thinking, I care for them. Empathy in the sense of understanding their point of view.
Absolutely.
And I think that simplistic empathy, or that neutral empathy, we'll call it that.
That's good.
Is incredibly helpful for us as SEOs and digital marketers to know what we should be doing, what we can be doing. If we understand what Google is looking to do, we can understand what we need to do to fulfill its needs. But also leverage off our own benefits as much as possible. Before it was clicks.
Right.
Now it's impressions and visibility and brand with some clicks.
Right, exactly. And it's a funny thing because if you don't have that sort of empathy, and I like that, you sort of get stuck in a rut of complaining, why is Google doing this, how is this happening, and this is really annoying, but you never take that step forward. Okay, so how do I swallow this, and what do I do to move forward, which I want to talk to you about later. I do want to get to that. Okay, so we're on the same page, so to speak. I want to get into, you have a 3-pillar approach to all of this, a 3-pillar construct. And one of the foundations of that you just mentioned is blocks. So you think in blocks, you talk about blocks in regards to rich elements. What exactly is that? Do you care to sort of explain what that is and how it relates to, the block relates to rich elements?
Yeah, well, I mean, I love the idea of blocks. I mean, I've been talking about it for a couple of years now. But in fact, my concept of blocks, initially I was saying chunks.
Okay.
And then I met Jonah Alderson, who said, oh, no, they're blocks. I preferred blocks. So I said, okay, I'll become a block user.
A blockhead.
And Cindy, brilliant. You can be Ian Jury. Then we have Cindy Crum, who says Fraggles.
Right, exactly.
You've heard about that,
Sure.
which is much more nuanced and very, very interesting. And I was talking to Dixon Jones, who actually pointed out to me that Microsoft used the word chunks.
Okay. Interesting.
So if I'd been working on Bing, I would have been using chunks and been fine. But because it's Google, I'm in
it's
blocks.
Bing. No one cares. So we use blocks.
But I mean, the concept is if we think in blocks, it all makes enormous sense very quickly. If you look at the web, the World Wide Web, your website is simply a block within that World Wide Web. Within your website, you have categories that are blocks. Within those blocks, which are categories, you have pages which are blocks. So we've got block within block within block within the World Wide Web. And then you go into the page. If you're using semantic HTML5, everything in there is a block: your header, your aside, your article, your footer. But also H1, H2, and the paragraph that goes with it, that's a block too. So we've got blocks within blocks within blocks within blocks within the World Wide Web. Then you dig into all the rich elements we've been talking about, which is tabular data, videos, audio, images, image galleries. All of these are blocks too. And in the case of a tabular data, you've got block within block within block within block within block.
Well, that's
and then I get lost.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it makes so much sense when you think of it like that. And as a human being, it makes sense. But to a machine, it makes even more sense.
And why is that?
Because it needs to think in terms of relationships between entities. So each block is actually not each block is going to represent an entity, but it is an entity with a relationship, which is it has a child or a parent or both or a sibling. So that idea of, I mean, if we look at knowledge graphs and graph theory and the fact that all these machines now are working on graph theory, entities connected to each other by relationships, blocks makes perfect sense. And if you look at linking and the page rank, it's actually an entity which is a page, but also a block linked to another entity which is a page and also a block with a relationship which is a link.
Right.
Whereas a link doesn't really have any meaning as such. It can have a meaning as in I am partner with, but in fact the link is completely neutral. It doesn't say I am partner with or is my client or is a reference to me or whatever it might be. So kind of links, you suddenly realize that although PageRank has been around for years, it's actually pretty feeble and weak.
Yes. When
you compare it to the idea of entities linked together with relationships that have specific descriptions about them. And that's really, 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 really powerful. And if we then link that back up to the rich elements idea, Cindy Crum's Fraggles, where that differs from the block, and that's why I like it, is because it's a block with a handle. She calls it a fragment with a handle. You can't see it on the podcast, but if you imagine Google reaching in with its hand from the top, it grabs a handle and it just pulls the block out and sticks it in the SERP. And if it wasn't thinking like that, it couldn't do it.
Right.
So fundamentally, we're all thinking we need to think in blocks because that's what Google is leveraging to make these rich results pull these rich elements into the rich results.
Right. So basically you're saying that the block is what allows Google to sort of pull out the rich element and put it onto the SERP.
Yeah. And it also allows it to construct in its mind, in inverted commas, the world or the web, as blocks with a relationship. So it's entities with relationships. I don't know if anybody listening to this has done any MySQL or SQL databases, you have to define all your relationships and and graph theory is you have an entity with a relationship and you don't need to define it. And it's very flexible and very fluid, very powerful, and can scale, which is the problem Google's always had. And now they can scale incredibly fast and incredibly well. And the fact that we're seeing more and more of these rich elements, I mean, they just keep coming.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. But I wrote an article in Search Engine Journal which explains how they gain their place.
I did
mean,
see
we
that.
won't go into that.
Right.
Yeah.
The bidding system.
Look it up. Yeah, the bidding system. And it's bidding a value to the user in the context in which the user finds themselves, or the context of the user query, which is brilliant. And then you say, well, that's Darwinistic, and Google couldn't possibly write multiple algorithms for all these different elements. What it's done, it's got the same algorithm with different weightings and probably different factors. I would imagine, well, I don't know, I won't go too far in the, but, and the idea is, and that's for content creation. If you have a video that doesn't bring enough value to the user, it won't get its place. But if you can prove to Google that it has value for the user intention, it will get a place because it bids. It will make a bid of value.
No, so funny sort of question, and so I'm really big into entities, and it's like it's like I'm on a soapbox about entities for like the last year or so, and I wonder, it just kind of hit me now as you were speaking. Do you think Google looks at each block, let's say the header, right, or the main body itself, each block as its own entity of sorts? Meaning it's analyzing each in its own sort of way as it would in each individual entity. Yeah,
well, I mean, Cindy Crum is absolutely convinced, and I would agree with her, that Google is now indexing in blocks.
Yeah.
So a page is a block, but then it would also index a block within a block. I mean, if you look at WordPress, if you look at Gutenberg in WordPress, that's a really useful way to visualize as a human being what's going on. And once again, people are complaining about Gutenberg, but you're saying it forces you to structure, it forces you to think in blocks, and you're feeding a machine. You want the machine to send you traffic. If you want it to send you traffic, you have to present the information in a manner that it can digest easily. And I was talking to Jonah Alderson about Schema Markup, and he's completely obsessed.
Right, I saw that.
Rightly so. And he's saying, but it just allows this whole machine to scale and to move much, much faster.
Yes, I think it's a funny thing that people don't realize, that Google has resources and has limited resources. Besides being a behemoth, it does have resources that are limited, and it wants to make it easier on itself. Which is kind of a funny thing, because Google said that they can do some of the things, or they've alluded to that they can do some of the things that they're doing with rich elements via machine learning. They don't need the markup per se, but through machine learning understanding, they can do that sort of thing. But I'm wondering what your thought is on this. Do you think that Google will move in that direction, or for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of saving resources, it's always going to rely on the markup to easily pull those blocks out?
Well, right now, I tend to look at Schema Markup as being a way for you to confirm to Google if it's correctly understood what's in your page.
Okay.
And I was talking, once again, Jonah Alderson, same interview, and he made the nice analogy. He was saying, initially Google asked us for keywords 20 years ago, and then they said, oh, that's spammy, and they got rid of them. And then they said, we don't need Schema Markup. Now they're saying, well, actually, we do need Schema Markup because they need it for the precision.
Right.
And I think because, for two reasons, or maybe one reason, I can't actually think that far ahead, they're going to need that precision, and naturally as human beings we don't give enough precision. And if they can provide us with Schema Markup name value pairs that encourage us to think about the precision we can give, the attributes and the information we can give to get very granular, why would they stop?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of a point at which for a product it would stop getting granular. And if you look, moving it slightly aside, what are they doing? They're using reviews to pull out attributes of entities. And if you look at something like a free Wi-Fi in a coffee house, if I search for that, often it will come up as part of a review, the free Wi-Fi in bold. Because product and business owners don't give enough detail, and users will tend to express things from their problem, their pain point, which is what they're expressing in search, which makes a perfect match. We've kind of gone a bit off topic there, but I think that idea of granularity and precision, which is Jonah's word, gives a long future to Schema Markup.
Yeah, just to sort of go back down that wormhole you just brought up, I think it was a couple of months ago. I was talking to Greg Gifford about this, or was it Mike Blumenthal? I don't remember. Either way, in the Q&A feature in the knowledge panel, either way, it's a great local expert, so whatever, don't worry about it.
Brilliant,
But yeah, in the local panel where you have the Q&A feature, they were saying that Google's starting, when you type in a question, Google's starting to give you back an answer from reviews left within that panel. So that's another,
Okay.
that's Google loves having that easy access to the information, and it loves using it in all different ways. I agree with you. Machine learning can do X, Y, and Z, and that's great. But if you can do the same thing, there's no advantage in the machine learning. In fact, I would say there's a disadvantage at this point, but let's just say Google does somehow develop the machine learning that can create that refinement at such a level, but why would they do it themselves if they're going to have you do it for them?
Yeah, exactly, 100%. I mean, and I think also if somebody like Yoast is doing this properly, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And just looking at you, I'm completely blown away. That's just on WordPress with Yoast. That's 14% of the web.
Yeah, that's true.
Google are investing heavily in WordPress, so that's only going to increase. Yoast also do something for Typo3, Joomla, and heaven knows what other platforms. So you end up Google are now looking at it and saying, actually, we've got this heavyweight. No offense, Yoast, sorry, behind this, and they're doing the job that we, or as individual developers, weren't, and I think that's phenomenally great. I don't think there's anything to criticize Yoast for in that, and
I've heard
you're saying you're doing it for us, and I don't have to make all these decisions. Conclusion: Schema Markup's going to be around for a while, and anybody who isn't doing it today is liable to miss the boat.
Yeah. Okay. Let's definitely. We could go for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, but we don't have time for that. What I want to do is sort of jump over to the other side of the equation. That's the fallout of all of this. One of the interesting things I've seen out there is that when people talk about schema markup and rich results or rich elements, it's the increased traffic to their site that it brings. But I'm wondering if we're sort of, are we moving away from that paradigm? For example, you have things like the how-to or the FAQ markup, and the FAQ markup is a behemoth. It's first off, it's amazing. It's prolific, it's whatever, but it's also going to answer questions right on the SERP.
Yeah. I mean, the feature snippet where the answer box, the position zero, whatever you want to call it, was this. It had its kind of heyday a couple of years ago, and everyone's going, oh, you get more clicks. This is amazing. You get to leapfrog everybody. And the explanation of how you leapfrog is actually in that Darwinism Search Engine Journal article, which actually explains, or Gary Illiott explained to me, how that feature snippet decides whether or not to put that feature snippet. And initially, they were getting loads and loads of clicks, and as all these new rich elements have come in, the clicks are going down, and now people are starting to panic. So that kind of the gold rush heyday has gone.
I like that, the gold rush, right?
And I mean, we're seeing more and more in that feature snippet spot videos.
Yeah.
The direct link to the right answer, to the exact part in the video where the answer is. I mean, if I'm lazy, which I am, I just click on the video, listen to the answer.
That's right. That's it.
So yes, we're losing traffic. We're all losing traffic. And then maybe we need to change. Well, we definitely need to change our perspective. But maybe a good way to look at it is to say, my website is one representation of my brand that I control.
Right.
The SERPs is another representation of my brand. For brand SERPs, obviously, when somebody searches my brand name, but also whatever keywords I'm appearing for, I now need to brand them. I need to make sure that I'm getting my message across. And it's now not just saying, oh, I've got to get the keywords in, and I've got to get this incredibly sexy meta description to get somebody to click.
Right.
It's not only those, but getting my brand message in there so that even if somebody doesn't click, they've read it. And making sure, I mean, the 10 blue links are dying out, and the question is how fast. Google are replacing them bit by bit as it can. When the content becomes available, at the moment, it doesn't have so very much, let's say, video or images, or as much as it maybe would like. Actually, images it does, sorry. With images, I think it's 80% of SERPs have got
it's crazy.
Or something like that.
It's unbelievable.
But that's because we've all been taking photos for the last 10, 15 years with our phones. So there's loads and loads and loads of images out there, not so much video. So if you're looking to rank today, you probably do better looking at video and saying, I want to represent my brand through video in Google's search.
Yeah. I mean, look, even the audio content, right? The podcasts are out there.
Now.
Yeah. I mean, there's all things being equal, there's very little audio content out there.
I would agree 100%. I've said to a couple of clients, why don't you think about doing a podcast? And they say, who cares about podcasts? It doesn't rank. And well, and then that's the point. It doesn't rank because Google doesn't have the content.
Right.
And so we're looking now as saying we need to create the content that fills these multimedia gaps that Google's super rich SERPs demand, because users are demanding it. And if you're saying I want to get this to click through,
right,
you're trying to force a user to spend more time, which isn't actually in the user's interest. So if you go even further and saying, well, Google's being nasty to me, you're saying, well, actually, Google's being helpful to the user. And at the end of the day, the user doesn't want to click on the link either if they can get the answer. So, and then, sorry, to move that further out, you're going, and your social networks are a representation of your brand. Your reviews are a representation of your brand. So if we take a step back and say, I have all these representations of my brand, some of which I control completely, some of which I control partially, some of which I can influence, that would be the SERPs. You aim to hit all of those to communicate your message, your brand message, why you should buy from me, or what we're offering, why you should buy from me, and then they get to your site, presumably when they're ready to buy.
So how do you do that now? Because, I mean, obviously reviews are great. Obviously, if you get the feature snippet for the video and you make sure that that thumbnail in the video has your logo or whatever it is, fantastic. But what are some ways you've seen people be a little bit creative with this and getting their message across or their brand presence across via the SERP features or the SERP itself without the click?
For the moment, I don't think many people have had many great ideas, to be honest.
Agreed.
That's
what I'm asking. It's
kind of a new idea. And when you talk, I mean, we're either clients ourselves, i.e., we sell stuff on the web, or we're a digital marketer. I say to a client, right, now let's talk content. We've done the technical stuff. We're indexable. We're crawlable. The speed's okay. Don't have to really worry so very much about that. Apparently, finally, it's and it is that thing of diminishing returns. If you've got your site under 2 seconds, then the person who's clicked through from the SERP is still concentrated more or less on what they were doing in the first place. If it's over 2 seconds, they lose the context. They start looking around, or so once you're under 2 seconds, that's. I mean, obviously, I'm being terribly general. There are diminishing returns in pulling it down and pulling it down and pulling it down, and then you say, okay, what happens when they land on that page? What do they see? Then you say, what content can we create to get ourselves onto the SERPs? So you're saying you've got this idea of creating content to pull into those rich element spots, and in fact to create them for yourself.
Right.
It's not saying who's got the spot that I can steal it off. It's saying which queries don't yet have this rich element that would benefit from it.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
And so you kind of say, then you say, okay, and something I'm talking to my clients about is a multimedia strategy. So they say, I just write some blog posts. And you're saying, but there you're competing for these 10 blue links, which are now no longer 10 blue links, they're 6 blue links. Everybody else is competing for that. You need loads of links into your page. You need to optimize it. There's going to be loads of investment to actually get anywhere near that top page. Mm-hmm. But if you say this could do with a video and it doesn't have one, create a video content for it. Right. If you think audio is going to be better, do that. If an image gallery would do a good job, do that. If you can get a featured snippet, obviously you want to optimize for that. But and then you kind of say, maybe my content strategy is a series of content, which can be a blog, each episode. I mean, I've just written some Schema Markup for that with a friend of mine, Hugo, to say my podcast is now a creative work series. I can't remember what the exact thing is because he actually did the dirty work, not me. And it contains multiple episodes, and each episode can be audio, text, video. So you've got speakable text as well, obviously. Right. Audio, text, video, whatever, images, and you end up with this. I hope. I mean, this is my kind of imagination running away with me. I hope that you get this coherence that you get with a TV series or a series of films or whatever it might be. Where you say, here's my body of work, and here are all the elements, and each element is specifically the one that is needed for that specific type of query, or the query, the topic that it's dealing with, and leaving ourselves open-minded that it might be text, but it might also be audio, video, images, or whatever else. I mean, I've run out of ideas there, but
I think that's it for now.
But I mean, there will be more. I mean, 3D presentations,
Right, holograms, whatever it is, right? Well, they have that now. They have 3D images on the SERP. I've only seen them like once or twice, but yeah.
Really? Oh, great.
Yeah, there's like a couple of months ago they came out with some sort of like 3D AR image on mobile. So if you can like put a shark in the back, in the back of your office. I have no idea what it's for, but it's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering what that was behind you.
Right. My kids left that there.
Yeah, and so we're moving in. Google's moving into a multimedia world. We need to move into a multimedia world. And if you think about, I mean, this is the example I give. If you think about Yahoo, it's this human curated set of multimedia results that might adapt to you if you're logged in, but it's human curated. Google is starting to do, and will end up doing exactly the same thing, but on a query by query basis,
right?
On a case by case basis, depending on the context. And you're going to end up with this multimedia page in front of you that will contain many of the answers you're looking for.
Right.
And as digital marketers, we can't just complain about it and sulk and hide our heads. We need to figure out how to deal with it. And I think it's two things are obvious. One is we're never going to get that traffic again. And the other is the traffic we are going to be getting is going to have to be much more qualified. And we're going to have to start looking at other methods to drive that traffic. Unfortunately, all these big Facebook, Apple, Twitter, they're becoming more and more walled gardens. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But, as we were saying earlier on, people haven't yet come up with the good ideas. That doesn't mean to say the good ideas aren't going to come.
No, it's gonna be very. I think it's personally gonna be very, very tough. I think it's like sort of like the music industry, where when Napster came around and then you finally had to go to iTunes, whatever it is, the album is dead. No one makes albums anymore for the sake of I'm gonna sell a ton of records. I'm gonna make my money that way. And I want to download the album. I want to download this song. I want to download that song. And the artists are making their money through touring now. The music will always be a media, but it's a different form of media. Whereas content, we sort of think, well, this is how we made web content 10 years ago, and that shouldn't change. I think it's a little bit silly.
Yeah, I mean, that idea, and that's quite interesting, is with music, bands used to sell loads of albums. Now they make very little money out of Spotify. I can vouch for that. The Blue Dog doesn't get much money for singing these.
That's terrible. I'm sorry.
And the Blue Dog doesn't tour, but the idea of touring is taking it offline again. And you see with people like Greg Gifford, who are now saying, I've been in local search for years, not me, him. He's been in local search for years and years and years. And now everyone's talking about anti-Asian relationship. He's like, I've been working like that for years because that's all it's ever been.
Right.
And now when you're talking about local search, a lot of it is now going offline. Have a gala so that people kind of come to your place, so that Google can track your Android phone and see that there are lots of people at your place. Get them to give reviews online, so that this offline and online are kind of merging again, whereas we've spent 20 years being kind of isolated in our little bubble online, and that's over. And that's probably part of it's part of the reason we're all resisting, because it was nice and comfy. It's
hard. Change it's not easy. I personally think that the top level content, like if you're a weather site and you're offering the temperature outside in New York and Philadelphia, whatever it is, that's dead. I don't need you for that. I don't want you for that. I'd rather not have to click on the SERP. So the whole idea of content, a top level content or surface level content, in my mind, I know I'm going out on a limb, but that's dead. If you want to write content and write about weather trends and weather analysis, deeper level content, that when the user really does want something that Google can't offer, I don't think it can, at least not yet, because the SERP is not built for long form content. If it's built for a quick snippet here and there, then that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah, and that comes back to, and that's a really good way to see the idea of qualified and non-qualified.
Right.
Qualified is somebody who's really interested in the subject. Unqualified is somebody who just wants to know what the weather is today.
Right.
And as you rightly say, the unqualified traffic, what does it bring to you except a cookie and maybe the possibility to annoy them incessantly online as they surf around with the iron that they just bought anyway, and you're still throwing, kind of saying, buy this iron, buy this iron. That's one of those frustrating things in life.
Okay,
so that's my pet hate of the day. Sorry.
No. What was that? I'm sorry, I missed you.
Well, the idea that I'm looking for a fridge,
right?
And then I buy a fridge, but I visited several sites, and they all stick a cookie on me, and then remarket And he said, I bought the bloody thread.
Right. Love that, right. I love that my Facebook feed is like that. Sometimes I'll manipulate it on purpose. I'm looking to buy a product, so I'll search for tons of related queries to it.
Right.
And then I get tons of ads, which is great. It's exactly what I want. But then it takes a little while for them to realize, like, I'm done. Whatever. So with that, let me just ask you, what's next? Where do we go from here? Because you're right, because Google is obsessed with adding media onto the SERP.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think where we go next is what we've just been saying, is looking for the qualified visits as opposed to the people who are just kind of curious about the weather or looking for the size of a T-shirt or whatever it might be. Creating quality, interactive multimedia content that is truly of interest to users. And once again, I mean, to kind of Jono Alderson, my favorite person at the moment, just because I listened to the podcast yesterday, was talking about the idea of, rather than looking at content, looking at solutions, saying, what solution am I providing?
Right.
And that's an about face in our heads, which is perhaps difficult, but once you've done it, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm providing solutions. Google is trying to provide solutions. I need to indicate to Google, prove to Google that I have the correct solution, the best solution for its client. And we often forget that these people are Google's visitors and clients. They're not ours.
Right.
And if Google wants to send them to us, that's its prerogative. And complaining that it's sending us less is, a bit childish, really. Or, and then you say that prove to Google that I have the correct solution for their user in that context. And if the solution, I'm coming back to what you said earlier on, if that solution is kind of cursory, i.e. what's the weather, then Google's going to keep it.
Yeah, for sure.
If it's qualified, deeper content, Google will give it to you. And if I had one philosophical approach for the future, it would be that. And I hadn't thought about that before, so thank you very much.
That's what I'm here for. You're welcome. Okay, so I always have to do this with my guests. I have this little game that I do. So if you're an avid listener of this show, you know what I'm talking about. I call it optimize it or disavow it. So it's where I'm going to give you two really hard options, and you have to sort of choose one over the other, two good options, and you got to throw one away. Or where I might give you two really bad options, and you're stuck choosing a really, for lack of a better word, crappy option that you never want to do. Yeah. So this is the Jason Barnard version of optimize it or disavow it. So since we're talking about schema and markup and rich elements, if you're a commerce site and you're thinking about creating, going into the world of markup, you have markup for products, and you have the, I'll call it the super sexy FAQ that just rolled out about a few months ago, whatever it was. If you can only do one of them, the product markup or the FAQ, which one would you do for a commerce site?
Product.
Okay. Simply
because it's nearer to the sale, and we're looking to make money. And I think we get overexcited as SEOs or as digital marketers with a new toy to play with. Voice search is another great example.
Yeah.
Even just a few months ago, that was kind of talk of the town. Everyone said, voice search. We all got overexcited about it. It's actually just a toy for the minute.
It's a toy. It really is. It really is a toy. I can ask it funny questions, and it gives me funny answers back.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Stuart Rogers, in fact, was talking about that. We were talking about images earlier on. It was him who pointed out to me that we've been taking photos for 15 years. And so there is a mass of photos online that Google is now using. So that content is ready. So it's image search that's today, and voice search, which will be several years, maybe not 15, but it's a generational thing as well, because younger people, the younger generation, now that I'm getting a bit older, are talking to their machines, and I find that a bit weird, but it's going to come through. It's going to filter through. So voice search today, no. Image search, yes. Yep. This comes into the multimedia idea. And so the coming back to what we were talking about, the FAQ thing, it's completely exploded. And there were examples on Twitter I saw actually this morning where people, it's actually got ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw that also this morning about that. What was it, the travel site, whatever it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Yoast has implemented it within Gutenberg, so everyone's getting kind of jiggy
right.
So you've got 14 million sites that can now do this.
Right.
So kind of people are getting over it, and it's really easy. I mean, I did a test.
No, yeah, it's great. or not great?
Well, I was doing a training course for the Yoast Academy,
Right.
and so I tried it out to see, and I was going, it takes me the time to write the FAQ,
Right.
and I click on a button, all the code is done, and I get my super duper rich FAQ thingy. So it's actually really easy when you're doing it within a platform like Yoast, rather than the 3 hours it took me to write before, and there's still errors in it when I was checking it in the checking thingy. So you look at that, and the FAQ, two problems, one of which it's too early in the buying process to be the primary choice. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying do it. It's also very good for after sales. Judith Lewis was talking to me about how often SEOs forget the after sales. And that's the thing as well, satisfying your client from beginning, to attracting them, to selling to them, and then after sales. We forget about that because the client might then leave a bad review. If they're looking for something specific about our products and we've forgotten to do our SEO and they can't find the answer to their problem with our product, they're going to get really annoyed.
That's a really good point.
So the FAQ is incredibly useful for that. So, in fact, having said products, you could also say, depending on my situation, if I'm looking for sales, I would do products. And if I was looking to reassure a client base that looks a bit shaky, I'd go for FAQ on my FAQ for my products, so that I can satisfy these clients and stop them complaining about me. So we've actually got a double answer, and I hadn't really thought it through.
No, that's a great. I never thought of that before. Using the FAQ as a way to keep your client retention, keep them happy, keep them informed, keep them an easy way to get that help center out there. I never really thought of that. That's great. Yeah,
I mean, it really struck me how when Judith said that to me, I thought, you just did the same thing. Oh, wow,
yeah, that's right.
and then you expand that out and you say, but FAQ is perfect for that.
Yeah.
I've actually got a client who's doing that at the moment, so kind of I should really have put two and two together much earlier. The FAQ is very powerful for that. I think it's being abused. I don't think if there is a big rollback or a penalty or whatever it might be, or a rollback rather.
Right, whatever you want to call it. I got you. I always do that. It's a penalty. It's not a penalty. Whatever. Demotion.
Not a penalty.
Right.
Rollback, I think is better. For answers and questions about your products where you're helping your client, which are going to be very low volume and very brand specific, Google isn't going to roll that back because it's useful and helpful. And from that perspective, this client, who I won't name, has a slight reputation problem because people aren't able to find the information after sales, and this is our solution. And we're going all out for that one. And in fact, having said, I quite like that because my immediate reaction is products because it's close to we all want to make money, and that sounds brilliant. It's a really nice soundbite, but in truth, I'm doing the FAQ.
There we go. This is a great example of SEO. It depends.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go. That's my answer. I don't want to say it depends because you did.
Thank you. I took the bullet for both of us on that one.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate you coming on. This was so much fun.
Brilliant. No, it was amazing. What an amazing set of questions, and it really hit the points that I've been really, really interested the last few months, and that all these people have been on the podcast, and I'm sure you're the same. When somebody comes onto the podcast, you sit there and you go, wow, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. And then you get it all in your mind. And I was talking to Stephen Van Vessem, and he was talking about the idea of we all have the same pieces of the SEO jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
You just put it together
differently. I like that. That's good.
I like that idea.
That's good.
And so kind of I've got all these pieces from the last 76 episodes or whatever it is I've done, and they kind of falling into place. And as I'm talking to you, and you go, oh, that falls into place. Judith Lewis comes in with the FAQ, and you get the same thing.
It's brilliant all the time. It's like brilliant. We did one a couple of weeks ago, and someone on the team was listening to it, was like, hey, we should do that. I'm like, you know what? I didn't catch it. Yeah, but we should do that.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
That was absolutely amazing, Nordy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on, Jason. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
And we are back to your regularly scheduled In Search SEO podcast. He is so much fun, by the way. He has come on, that voice is amazing. I can listen to him sing for like forever. I would pay to hear him sing. I would.
That's cute.
It's so much fun, for real. I love talking to him. There's like for realsies, If I can use like a millennial term, is that a real thing you guys say?
have
No,
no
I don't know.
idea.
For real?
For real.
For real.
Okay.
For realsies.
For real.
I feel like it's what my sister would say. For realsies.
Oh, wow.
There's like some people I feel after I interview them, like I need to keep up with them
Okay.
and like pick their brains once in a while. He's definitely somebody I felt like I need to keep up with them. I got to pick their brain.
Okay.
Yeah, great deal of SEO knowledge going on there. Which brings us, by the way, to our Rank Ranger community question of the week. Yay!
Yeah.
Take it away, Sapir.
Are rich results still worth it when they take traffic away from your site?
So, right, so think the FAQ. Think how-to markup. Do the formats still work for you when they take traffic away from your site? Meaning, you have the FAQ there, right?
Right.
Well, assuming you're not abusing with insanely irrelevant information. The user gets the answer. They may not need to click on your site, and you can't blame Google because you did that. So, is it still worth it? Is it still worth having that rich result? Having the user feel happy, wow, look at this great result I got here on the SERP.
Right.
Looking at your content, fair enough, but not making the click because of the markup that you used.
That's an interesting question.
No one to blame but yourself.
Right.
So let us know. Look for the Rank Ranger community question. It'll be in the blog that harbors the podcast. It'll be on Twitter, on the Rank Ranger Twitter account. You can find it on the Rank Ranger LinkedIn account. I'll tweet it. Sapir maybe will tweet it on this mysterious Twitter account that she has all of a sudden. That would be very helpful.
It's a private.
Oh, my God.
account.
So, well, here's a fun one for you now because we're not doing the news.
Oh, wow. Heartbreaking.
Right? Heartbreaking. I was like, hey, let's hit it with the news, but we're not doing it because I'm
Do you
going to
see-
LavaCon.
Do you see the single tear rolling down my cheek? Do you see it?
I didn't think you could cry.
See, it's that heartbreaking.
I thought you have to have a heart first to cry.
Ouch! Wow, Morty. Okay. You just wait. Wait until next podcast. I'm gonna go.
That's right. No, we'll do it now. You'll get me back now
Now?
with your SEO
I'm-
send-off question. Because since we don't have the nudes, we're going directly to our fun SEO send-off question. And this week, I blame Sapir.
What?
I blame Sapir for this question. I don't.
Listen, it's a lousy question, but
At least you admit it. At least you admit
okay.
it.
So like a few days
Wait, where's
ago,
yeah.
Jennifer Aniston. You know who it is, right?
Yes, I know who Jennifer Aniston is. I
Okay.
knew about her before you were born.
Shut up. Okay, she opened an Instagram account.
Wow.
Yeah, and she
My
got
life
like
is now complete.
she got the most number of followers, I think, in an hour. I don't remember. She has like
Really?
a Guinness world
Wow.
record or
That's
something.
some world record. I mean, there's that guy who grew those fingernails really long. He's got a pretty good Guinness World Record. And then there's Jennifer Aniston.
Right. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is that her first photo, upload that she uploaded, was like a reunion of all the original 6 cast members of Friends.
Of what?
Cast members.
Of what?
Friends.
Oh, the TV show.
Yes.
Friends. That's a TV
Come
show.
on, Morty.
I got it. I actually, can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I never liked Friends.
What?
Was I not clear?
What?
I never liked Friends. I always thought it was annoying.
Okay, you're weird.
Which is
That's
why I
it.
find
I'm
this
like-
question annoying. So why don't we ask the question?
Oh, wait. So what was the question? Wait,
Oh,
okay.
you blanked out on the question?
Oh, okay.
Our
So
first
Google-
podcast back,
okay,
you
okay.
blanked out on the
So
question.
if Google was a Friends character,
Mm-hmm.
which one would it be?
Ross's dad.
What?
Yeah, Elliot Gould.
I have no idea. who
See,
that is.
I'm going old school on you. Elliot Gould is a famous actor. He was in MASH,
But
the movie.
The character itself, it's so insignificant.
Yeah. No, he's a great actor, and
But Google.
and it's random. Yeah,
As Ross's father.
right? Because you know why? They both start with a G. Gould, Elliot Gould, and Google.
I have no comment about
Because
that. It's
what else am I gonna say?
I
Like
don't
seriously,
know.
who? The funny guy?
Maybe?
Yeah, Joey. Joey. Google is Joey
The
because
funny guy.
because Google is a horrible actor who's not funny and who is not a good actor. Is not funny. So therefore, he's Joey.
Amazing
Right?
answer. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's. You know what? I changed my answer.
Okay.
I have the right. What's the guy's name? The main guy, Chandler.
Chandler.
Okay.
He's not the main guy. All 6 of them are main.
He's the main guy. Okay, Chandler. I say Google is Chandler because sometimes they're both annoying. You know what? Google is all of them because sometimes Google is annoying and that show's really annoying. That's my answer.
Okay.
Final answer? Yes, Regis. Final answer.
Okay.
Friends.
Thank you, Morty.
What's your question? No, wait. You didn't give your answer.
I have no answer.
What kind of crap is this? You only had 4 weeks to prepare this.
You didn't give me 4 weeks. I thought you were making the fun
I
SEO
haven't done the fun
send-off
SEO question in like 2 months.
Me neither.
That was loud. What do you mean, me neither?
I'm always loud.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all our listeners. We'll have a better fun SEO send-off question next week.
That was fun, though.
That was fun, though. That was fun. Thank you again for joining us. We're glad we're back. We're glad you're back. We're glad to be back. And we're glad to bring you an all-new episode next Tuesday, so check it out. This has been In Search because we're all in search of something. Take care now.